let's talk about the other big matchup in the Pac-12. This is Saturday, ESPN 9:30 p.m. kick local time. Not happy at our friends with the four-letter network. Number 10 Utah, number 12 Oregon. Chance to play in the Pac-12 championship game still very much on the line here. Oregon is a 3-point favorite. Utah's had some really good weeks. They've had some really bad weeks. And look, you could say, hey, if they don't drop that game to UCLA or if they don't drop that game to Florida, they're still right there in the thick of the Pac-12 championship discussion. But at the same time, Utah has found a way to lose the biggest games on their schedule, and Oregon's offense looks really good. I know their defense was a little bit MIA last week, especially in the secondary. Michael Penix Jr. threw for 400 yards against them. I think Oregon is going to be ticked off and still ready to defend a spot in the Pac-12 championship game. I'm going to take the home team here in another game where defense could be optional, to say the least. Give me the better offense here in the Oregon Ducks.
I'm not entirely sure they are the better offense. I'll talk about that in a second. If you want to stay up crazy late and watch some awesome football, put on a pot of coffee, hang out with me for a little bit. I'll be up. Come find me on social media or something like that. This was one of the games that preseason I had circled as one of the best of the year. I'm still super pumped for this game. I think these are two really good teams. Obviously, this would have been more fun if these teams had a real playoff aspiration, right? If either of these teams are playing for something, that would have been a little bit more fun. But we're still talking about a path to the championship game, possible Rose Bowl spot on the line. So, I think Oregon's going to have to look for a ability to bounce back after. I mean, they just got eliminated from the playoff, right? That was what just happened for them. They've got to be feeling down. It's got to be a bit of a bum week in the locker room. The vibes probably aren't there when it comes to just how this team is playing. Luckily for them, they get this letdown game at home. They're playing against a good opponent with some stakes, so it should keep their attention. The Ducks, they have the better offense, at least on paper, in terms of the points per game. But if you look at kind of some of the recent things, I'll get to Utah in a second. The Ducks, they have some big question marks on defense, though. They rank 76th in points per game against, and I think that's a little bit of a shocking stat to me in terms of what I expected from them. They don't play particularly great defense, and maybe I'm just a little bit biased for my preseason expectations, but I kind of think Utah's going to go on the road and get Oregon while they're down. Guys, they scored 40 points in the last two games and in 4 of their last 6. Utah is scoring a lot towards the end of the season. They seem to have found their rhythm. They were pretty bad at the beginning. We're not going to pretend like they weren't bad at the beginning of the season, but something clicked. They figured out their rhythm, and this last part of the season has been really good for them on offense. I think right now Utah has the slight edge on offense. They've scored a bunch of points recently. I think it's going to be close, but I'm going to go ahead and ride or die with my darling. Give me Utah +3. This is my lucky dog of the week.
I'm going to double up with you on lucky dog of the week. I'm taking Utah +3 as well. And, resident Utah hater over here, but I'll give them some props that they just seem to have the Ducks number historically, right? Like they seem like there's something to be said about teams that just seem to have the other team's number. You talk about TCU, Texas. You talk about, there's a whole bunch of other examples you could throw out there, but Utah just seems to have Oregon's number, and I'm really concerned about Oregon not having anything to play for, quote unquote. Now, obviously, they're still very much alive for a conference championship and a Rose Bowl appearance. That's a huge season for Utah, and that's kind of a letdown for Oregon. It shouldn't be a letdown for Oregon, but from where they were, that is going to be seen as more of a letdown than something to play for. So I think Utah wins this game relatively comfortably. I think it's kind of not in doubt at the end of this. As we're winding down the fourth quarter, I think it's going to be pretty much set in stone that Utah's going to win this game. And I think they're going to rely on that run game. They're going to rely on the better defense, I think. And yeah, when they have Cam Rising, they're a very formidable offense to try to go against. So give me the more motivated team. Give me the team that has a little bit more chip on its shoulder right now. Still something to prove. Look, they probably read the press clippings. They probably heard all the playoff hype that they were getting from some at the beginning of the year. But at the end of the day, a 10-2 or 11-2 season in a Pac-12 championship and Rose Bowls appearance is still one of the best seasons in Utah history. So they still feel like they have a lot to play for. And I'm going to roll with that at this point in the season.
Oh,
Be
welcome
nice
to the bandwagon late in the season.
No, this is what I said all year. They'll lose 2 games, they'll win the Pac-12, and they'll
This
go
is
to the Rose Bowl. So
this
this is
is exactly
exactly
what
we're
you
playing out
said.
exactly how I had it.
That's right. I do think all of that narrative is very true. I also think that Oregon has played with a chip on their shoulder since they got blown out by Georgia. Right? A first-year head coach. It's a bunch of new guys who came in, a lot of those guys that were a part of the Oregon teams that were competing for a playoff under Mario Cristobal are either on their last legs of the career or just weren't there, right? Your quarterback, your captain came over from Auburn, a dumpster fire of a program. And for me, I think this Oregon team, since that Georgia loss, has been playing like an Oregon team that is reborn. Now, their defense let them down, and some bad play calling let them down late in that game. I think that Oregon can play with the same chip on their shoulder as Utah can, and go out and want to win a Rose Bowl championship to prove that they are not on the downtrend, right? There's a lot of press clippings that are saying that Oregon is on the way out, that their reign in the sun is over. There's a lot of comments about maybe Dan Lanning leaving for maybe the job on the Plains, going somewhere else, that Oregon's a stepping stone program. I kind of lean into the narrative that at home, they're embarrassed of how they lost in a rivalry game last week. And with plenty to play for, I think there's a reason why Oregon is favored at home. So we'll see. It should be a good game, though.
I might agree with you if they had like one game in the middle, right? If they just had like one Washington State in the middle just to kind of rough up on them, get the ship right, and then go to Utah. Or I don't know, pick your own. Cal, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, Cal or Stanford.
Yeah, let's act like there's a real difference between all these Pac-12 teams that aren't, Oregon or USC or whatever. So I think I would have preferred like another game in the middle just to kind of rough up on somebody, get the ship right, and then get the attitude right. I think on 1 week, having to recover from that is pretty tough. You had to be coming into Monday morning practice and all these team meetings feeling a little dejected, right? Like, hey, we're not making the playoff. That was tough. I wish I would have made this play. And you're not really coming into the week with the right mindset from the get-go. I'm not saying they're not there now, but I just kind of think I would have preferred a little bit more time on the better side of things this week.
Gracious hip power!